Om Shanti, everyone. Welcome to the next normal. I'm your host, Sister Jenna. We're broadcasting from the beautiful Meditation Museum in the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. I'm happy to share that we're getting the space ready to really reopen regularly. It's really a matter of just staffing, and we did not get any help from the government. So we were maintaining the museum for all these years that it was closed. I know we started to open it up one day a week, and that was really, again, just to create the energy and keep things going. But there's so many changes before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and after the pandemic. And the changes in consciousness. We've changed a lot in consciousness. I remembered when the pandemic started, I thought the world was going to become heaven. Naive, am I not? Really, I thought that for the first time, we, as a humanity, had this enormous opportunity to reset our lives, reset our karmas, reset our world, and make the world better. That we would have had this time to ourselves, you know? We were not going out, we were not wasting a lot of energy here and there. We were in solitude, we were in our spaces, maybe with the people we love and maybe with the people we didn't care too much about, but we had that time. I guess for individuals who are in abusive marriages or abusive relationships, I'm sure it must have been a consciousness of hell. For individuals who would be easily trafficked or kidnapped, they were saved because it was very hard to move around and not be seen. It was just a profound time. And I speak to you with an extremely open mind. I'm not speaking with you from a space where I only see this. And each day my level of consciousness expands. Each time you have a realization which was fueled by your self-honesty and humility. It was fueled by your honesty with yourself, which means maybe you were not so perfect. And maybe you were, but you were honest enough to identify it. That honesty took you to another level of self-realization. It fascinates me. This morning I couldn't stop thinking about how much we have changed. From being this soul-conscious being, completely in tune with your sentient self. We were completely in tune with being an embodiment of love and peace and purity and light and might and, oh my goodness, generosity of spirit. We were in tune. Our spirit was charitable. It wasn't a taking spirit. We had a chuckle yesterday on the way to the museum, and we were just sharing about the donations. You know, donations come and they don't come. And many of you don't know my lifestyle is very, very simple. But Santosh and Rashmi, they were sharing, and I had also realized when you look at me, I don't seem simple. I really seem like there's a lot in my world and maybe a lot of financial abundance, you know, because I take myself clean. I wear the same clothes just about every day. And it's just simple, but it's abundant in its simplicity. And we were just sharing about, you know, sometimes many people actually come to me to borrow money. And I will smile at them and I go, oh my gosh, you forgot I'm a nun, right? You forgot I'm not working, right? I'm just serving humanity. But because I've let God, I've allowed Baba's consciousness of abundance and love and light to move me through life. Maybe I don't have $1 in my pocket for you, but I have $1,000,000 worth of wisdom to share that could perhaps assist you, and then just don't forget me on the journey. And I always believe that friends should always support friends to keep moving the story forward. Anyway, that's another story. But I'm sharing that how people can look at you with a certain consciousness, and some of it is valid, but also how am I living in my consciousness and what level am I? When I was first coming into my spiritual awakening, I was doing my thing, working, hustling, paying the mortgage, paying the cars, insurance, shopping, dressing, matching the brands, making sure I look good. For whatever reason back then, I don't even remember, it's been so long. But I think we just look good to impress. We dressed to impress in those days. My consciousness was focused on the ground level where I could see everything and decide or compare or compete. Okay, I want that. Yeah, that looks good. How can I get that too? That was where my consciousness was. It was tit for tat. There's a building in New York City. I think it's new. It's called the Pencil. My goodness, that thing is so high. Don't even ask. But there's also a friend of mine. She lives in this high-rise building as well. And apparently her apartment is the only one with a veranda, with a porch, with a balcony. And when we were there last time for the International Day for Peace, and we walked from our hotel at Intercontinental to her home. Might have been an 8-minute walk. So as we were walking, the smells, the sounds, the people, there were two guys arguing as MAGA people about immigrants, and I was like, wow, they're still there. And then I was trying to stop a few people to ask for directions. It was four or five of us walking together. But we're just focusing on that. I got into her building, and the energy started to change. And I was observing of the consciousness. I was like, wow. It was such a different energy here. And it reminded me when I was in my 20s, this is how life felt. It was noisy. It was distracting. The consciousness had a little bit of fear. I had to deal with a lot of things that I might not have wanted. Hearing people speaking improper words about another child of God. And things like that were going on, right? And as she took me up, I think we went up to the 50th floor of her building. I think she's on the 51st floor. And you come into her beautiful apartment and you walk out on the balcony. I didn't see anything that I saw on the ground level. What's your level of consciousness like now in your life? Are you still on that first floor of just distractions and competition and who hates who and who's challenging who and this one's better than this one and my God is better than your God and I have a superiority over God because I am Jewish, I'm Muslim, I'm Christian, I'm Hindu. My religion is stronger than yours, right? That's all ground level thinking, and none of those prophets, none of them kept living at a ground level. And maybe that's the issue. Many of the folks that have been following their teachings have not gone to the level that they had experienced God's light, God's wisdom, God's love, God's message. This energy of consciousness is the way you think, the way you interpret things, the way you see. You can determine how you want to view yourself just from consciousness. I might tell you, I'm Jamaican Indian, look out. Or I could say, I'm God's child and I'm a pure and a peaceful soul, look out. It's two different, it'll take me down two different paths. But we once came here whole, sentient. We were living from feelings that were inside of us that were so divine and pure. We were whole. And there was so much power in the way we thought and in the choices we made. And we weren't making a million of them in a million ways. We were just doing one at a time, and it was fulfilling the cause, the purpose, the moment. I don't even know if the society even remembers once upon a time we weren't divided as people, that we were whole, full of love and wisdom and sweetness and power. There's a power in being whole than being split. And once the consciousness that was once whole, which was the highest level that we could exist from, we call that the time of the golden age in the Brahma Kumaris. We call it when it's the deity religion, when every human being on the planet was an embodiment of self-esteem and self-worth. Hindus look at it completely different. But it's when we were filled with those qualities, you were a deity, a walking, living example of God's grace and God's beauty on the planet. We were whole. We were whole. You were whole. You had no fear, no insecurities, no jealousy, no anger, no competition, no insecurity. You were whole. You were God's perfect creation. You were Baba's child, completely full. Can you remotely try to remember that level of consciousness that you once came from? You were whole. And the moment that split occurred, the consciousness that was at the highest level of completion, perfection, in the Brahma Kumaris, we sometimes use the word Bap Saman. Your mind was equivalent to God's energy of benevolence. Man, Bap. Your mind radiated that kind of love, of wisdom and God. And I tell you, I sit here in front of you with the intention to get to that level again. Because that's the level we all came down in. But after going through all these lives and situations, circumstances, environment, government, financial situations, health situations, human relationships, split. Here's my soul conscious self. Here's my body conscious self building a lot of momentum, taking a lot of the energy of what my soul conscious once whole self used to be. And it starts to pull energy of identification from outside of itself. Man, woman, black, white, Democrat, Republican, rich, poor, American, Indian, African, Chinese, tall, short, pretty, ugly, fat, skinny, fair skin, dark skin, brown skin, yellow skin, white skin. And as that consciousness kept being fed over a long period of time, in one lifetime, in 5 lifetimes, in 10 lifetimes, in 20, in 50, it could go up to as much as 84 lifetimes before the soul goes into real recycle mode. The division. Human consciousness, the first floor of that apartment building. When I went up to the 51st floor, it reminded me of how huge the soul is if it's whole. It can see everything. I saw the Hudson River, I saw Weehawken, I saw the city, I saw Times Square, I saw the lights, saw these little dots called yellow cabs down below. When I was on the first level, I didn't see none of that. I just heard people fighting, some people ignored me, a cop gave me directions, it was smelly, I was smelling the barbecue, I passed by some fresh fruits, that was nice. And even if on the first floor I was telling you the beauty of what I was seeing on the 50th floor, you know how you would respond to me? Oh, that's nice. And when I tell you and I take you up there and you see what I see, you'd be like, wow, I would love to live like that. And so are you willing to raise your consciousness? Because the higher you and I raise our consciousness, our thinking capacity, the greater our value. And the greater the world has to value you. So many of us are living on ground level, but we expect the world to give us a great deal of attention and value. I've seen it in my own Brahma Kumari and Kumar community. We're so quiet. We're doing the work. Hardly the world recognizes it in a sense, because we're walking with our own self-value. We don't need the world to acknowledge it, but the world needs to see people with values in order to be inspired, to recognize, I can do that too. And it all begins with your consciousness, the way you see yourself. The way you think about yourself will project in the way you think about other people. When you believe in your self-worth and you can acknowledge that you are split, that you have split your truth into half, that you have split your purity into half, that you have split your love into half. Now love has a mixture of attachment in it, and it's not clear, do I love you or do I hate you? I want to love you, but something in me won't love you. That's your attachment. That's your lust. That's your ego. That's your greed. I want to love you. You're not a bad person, but I hate that you say it like this, you're like this, that you're like that. Because the soul is split, it doesn't even have the power to pull the energy of its real self into its frame and to be able to level up and consciously think, hey, I love you, but also sometimes I just feel like I wish you would pay more attention to me. You would help me. You would invite me into your space. You see, that kind of a self-talk, that kind of a consciousness, that's going to always level you up, because nobody can compete with honesty with the self. I'm not talking about honesty that is abrasive and aggressive. I'm talking about honesty that makes you vulnerable with the right people, especially, that can move your story forward, that can level up your consciousness. Consciousness has been always a trick to define, but when somebody dies, the soul leaves the body, you could see consciousness is gone. The soul is gone from the body, and it's a corpse. But while the soul was in the body, did it live in soul awareness, which is the qualities of power and grace, and beauty and love? Or did it live like a monster and took only that which was limited, the ego of the self, which took everything out of it and stole the soul from being happy? Oh, I could go on. We only have 30 minutes. It is such an intoxicating topic. What level of consciousness are you in, my friends? Ground level? Just hanging out with everything? Getting affected by all the dirt? Or are you willing to level up? Take your life to another dimension of understanding. Why are you here? What's the good that you've got to do? Are you ready for God to fuel you and move you forward? Let's take a moment of silence. Just quiet. Think about that question. Just think about it. Where are you on the inside? Who are you? Divided or whole? When you're whole, things work easier for you. When you're divided, it's a struggle. You choose. Santosh, let's take a look on what would awakened intelligence say about consciousness. It's a state of being aware of and able to think, perceive, and experience one's surroundings, thoughts, emotions. So it's kind of like being mindful. It's an awakened state. It encompasses both the subjective experience of awareness and the ability to reflect on one's internal states and external environment. Consciousness allows individuals to process sensory information, make decisions, and form memories. Philosophically, consciousness is often described as the quality or state of being self-aware, with different theories attempting to explain its nature. Some focus on the biological and neurological mechanisms in the brain, while others consider consciousness in more abstract, existential, or spiritual terms. In spirituality, consciousness is sometimes seen as a deeper, interconnected essence of existence, beyond just the mind, involving higher states of awareness or enlightenment. That's wonderful. I totally agree with that. Let's go to the Sister Gita effect, who is living in a high consciousness in her new incarnation.
God's light. Many religions believe that God is light. The wisdom of God is also light, and those who study it become light and easy. Who made this light? God, from his own state of eternal enlightenment. God, being of light, makes the world around him light, chasing away the darkness of ignorance. Light spreads from God through his studious children into the whole world. Others receive this light when they see the practical proof of it in the lives of his effort-making children. God gives this light from above for this service. The ones who catch it and share it will be happy, no matter how little may be received in return from humans. All are children of this being of light, and this being is sending light to everyone. How open and ready am I? Have a day full of reflections and lightness. Om Shanti is a greeting of peace. Thank you.
My angel, Sister Gita. Today's Avyak signal. I don't know if I read the same one yesterday, but here. In order to transform the sanskars of attraction to the body that pull you against your wish, pay attention to two main things. See each one's character. Number two, only see the living being, the soul. At present, this is the main effort that is required. With this effort, your sanskars, your consciousness, your subconscious, your personality will continue to be purified, and body consciousness, the division that takes so much of our power, the body conscious vision will cease. Everyone is entitled to whoever and whatever their role and their fortune is. And yes, there are times I would love to have what somebody else has, but the universe is cyclical and life is cyclical. If I have a desire for it, it'll come. Maybe not right now, or maybe not in this incarnation, but if I have a pure desire for it and I've put energy to it, it will come eventually for me. No pure thought is wasted. Thanks everybody for joining us today on The Next Normal. We love you and we really want the best for you. Maybe because we want it for ourselves. And we deeply believe that if we can take care of each other, it's a sign of taking care of ourselves too. To destroy attachment, practice loving everybody the same. Thank you for joining The Next Normal. Take care of yourselves, please. Om Shanti.